feel there's too much benefit fraud going on in this country that needs to be addressed.
Less than 1% of welfare spending is lost to benefit fraud. The government's own figures, incidentally, are £1.2 billion. Now, I say this, and it's important to say this, because of our irresponsible media. We've just been talking about our irresponsible media, but because of that, research suggests that 27% of the British public, people estimate that 27% is lost to benefit fraud. It's, as I say, less than 1%. If you want to put that in context, £16 billion of benefits are left unclaimed each year. Compare it, for example, to tax avoidance, £25 billion lost a year. People come back and hit me and say, well, look, that's legal, that's perfect, that's different from benefit fraud where they're violating the clear legal framework. But that makes it worse, because in that situation, you have large businesses who have accountancy firms going into the Treasury, helping to draw up the law, and then advising their clients about how to avoid it.
Closely at British finances, it's nearly irrelevant. As I said, here's the GDP in comparison to public spending, and here is tax fraud. That's compared to this little dot, which represents benefit fraud. What about media coverage? You mentioned something in an article you wrote comparing the amount of times mentioned tax fraud was as opposed to tax benefit fraud, I should say. Can you just take us through that analysis a little bit?
Benefit fraud, as you say, is nearly insignificant, and tax fraud, and this isn't tax avoidance, which is a huge figure, just tax fraud as lying and cheating about taxes, is 15 times greater than benefit fraud. But if you examine how much the media covers it, you find that benefit fraud is covered about 600% more than tax fraud. So you get this very strong sense that both politicians and the media are feeding on this issue, which the public obviously react to, and politicians find that they get public support for, but it's quite out of proportion to the reality of the problem.